started here. Great crowd tonight, so we have some extra seats in the back. So we'll go ahead and get ourselves started. So, hey, look around the room. What a great event. So excited about today. And I want to welcome you to the 30th Jodie Harrison ceremony. My name's Clint Hall, born and raised in St. Charles. I'm the chief judge here right now. Graduated in '85, 4 kids that graduated as Saints, all varsity athletes, which I'm very proud of, and which I know everybody in this room knows what it takes to be a varsity athlete at St. Charles. We're here to celebrate our inductees. We have a great program set up for you. But before we get into the program, I have a really great introduction to make. For those of you that are back into the community, we have a new superintendent. His name is Dr. Paul Gordon. I talked to him a couple months ago and he said, I really would love to get to know the St. Charles community. He's been working very hard at it. I said, if you want to get to know the Saints community, I can tell you one event to come to. And he took the time to be here today. So I'm going to turn the microphone over to Dr. Gordon and give him a big Saints welcome.
Thank you so much. It is an absolute honor to be here, as I would never be inducted into a Hall of Fame. I was 4th or 5th string quarterback on the baseball team. Sat on the bench. So quite honestly, it's an honor to stand up here at the Hall of Fame. I'm like, look guys, I'm in the Hall of Fame. First time. And they're like, there's no way, my friend, no way. But it is an absolute honor to serve as the superintendent of D303. The pride of this district is immense, and it shows up in events like this. The pride for generations past who come back together to celebrate Saints in every other school within D303. It really is an amazing place. As I walked into last night's homecoming game, wow. I've been at a lot of high school events. I used to be a high school football coach out in Colorado for years and years. But to see that crowd and to see the energy in the stands for Saints football and for the community, it was absolutely inspirational. I just want to say thank you. I'm, again, honored to be the superintendent, honored to be a very small part of today's events. Have a great afternoon. Go Saints.
Well, when my family talks about me, one of the things that they laugh at is how excited I get about this weekend. Christmas is maybe number 1, and this is number 2. And the reason that is because when you go to the football game last night, or you go to the homecoming parade, and you start looking around our community, what you realize is that being a Saint and being a part of St. Charles is very special. It's unique. And so to look around and to see all the players and all the coaches and the former athletic directors and boosters, it's just a great night. And walk in today and see everybody smiling, everybody talking, and I know you feel the same way. Even though it's in the program, I think it's very important for us to start by talking about why we're here, and that's to honor Jodie Harrison. The mission of the Jodie Harrison Award is that it's a Lifetime Achievement Award that honors his memory by inducting persons into the Hall of Fame who have demonstrated lifetime accomplishments that are consistent with his values, character, and dedication to St. Charles High School sports. There's something I want to emphasize about that mission statement and about that award. This is not a sports Hall of Fame only. What we have is the people that we have inducted and that we're inducting today are and were exceptional athletes. That is true. But on top of being exceptional athletes, they are exceptional citizens and exceptional people who have made and continue to make contributions not only to the St. Charles community, but take St. Charles and spread our community throughout the country, and really in some cases throughout the world. Now, one of the other things I want to explain is one of the questions that comes up when we call and tell people that they've been or they're going to be honored is, how did this happen to me? How did I get this? And I want to explain to you just a little bit how everybody got here today. The very first thing is that St. Charles High School, according to the Historical Society, was established back in 1854, so that's 168 years ago. And I'm betting that they had sports that year. If you think about the 168 years of history, start thinking about the thousands and thousands of athletes that have put on a Saints uniform. Think about the hundreds and hundreds of coaches that have coached those Saints athletes. And then think about the thousands of parents who have dedicated time and effort to try to make St. Charles sports and St. Charles a place where their kid would want to come and to play. Out of those thousands and thousands of athletes, out of those thousands of coaches, and out of all those contributors, there have only been 122 people that have been inducted into our Hall of Fame. Just think about that for a second, 122 people. And this is an incredibly humble group. One of the characteristics of the people we select every year is, I don't deserve this, or did you think about my teammate? Well, today we get to celebrate you guys. And I want you to celebrate yourselves and for just a little bit of time reflect on just what you accomplished when you were a Saint and after. Next part, people want to know, well, geez, how does this happen? We have a very involved vetting process where somebody has to, first of all, somebody has to nominate you. And then we have a pre-selection committee that goes through all those nominations and says, you know what? Looking at the athletic accomplishments in combination with what they've done for the community, we believe that these are the finalists. And then it goes to another committee. And that finalist committee sits in a room and debates about who the 4 athletes are going to be, who the 2 coaches are going to be, and who that one family contributor is going to be. And I'll tell you what, that is not one of my favorite nights. Because ultimately the decisions are so tough to make. So I want you to understand that after we went through that process, after the voting occurs, the people that are here tonight are truly the best of the best. And it's an incredible honor, and we look so forward to hearing from all of you. In just a second, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Tim Daly, my soccer coach, a great friend. But I want to make sure that everybody understands, and on behalf of the committee, it's not just me. I want to thank Tim for the vision that he had for this. This program is there's been different times when it started that it was an event like this, and then for a while it was still an event, but not like this. And Tim said, you know what? St. Charles Sports, it should be recognized and it should be treated for what it is, which is one of the best programs in the state. And I'd like to see it treated that way. What can we do to do that? I think it should be at homecoming. I think that we should have a reception. I don't think people should have to pay. I think that they should get shirts. On and on and on, and I said, okay, coach, okay. And yet, here we are today, and thanks to him and a lot of wonderful volunteers, we've restored the Jodie Harrison Award to what I think Jodie would be proud of. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you sharing your day with our wonderful inductees here and the teams, the 4 state champion teams. We'll be talking about them a little bit later. What I'd like to do before we start our introductions of inductees is recognize some of the people who made this possible. We have a number of people on we have 3 committees for the Jodie Harrison Hall of Fame. One of them is a planning committee, and they did all this last night for the game, today for the banquet, yesterday for the parade. A number of them are here today, and I'd like to quickly introduce them. So if you could all stand up. Members of the Hall of Fame Planning Committee, would you please stand up? Names, of course, Clint Hull, Cena Dror, Lori Drumtra, Sue Soderberg, Merritt Scott, Linda Kane, Melissa Kane, Carrie Batka, Gary Cole. Gary, stand up. Did I miss anyone who's here? These people are incredible. They've done a wonderful job, and I think they deserve another round of applause. Thank you.
Well, I have the honor, and I'm not sure who from the Miller family. Is it going to be Maggie? Who's speaking on behalf of the Maggie? It's good to see you, Maggie. So I have the honor of being able to just say a few words about our first honorees in the contributors category, which is the category where we look for people who have made an impact on the St. Charles and the St. Charles sports community. And we are honoring Dr. Walter and Barb Miller today. We're going to hear from Maggie, but I just want to share with you that I've been blessed to have the opportunity to know Dr. and Mrs. Miller for most of my life. I played soccer with their son Mike in the 80s and have been around their family for the past 35 or 40 years. Miller's had 8 kids. They've been enrolled in D303 forever, and now grandkids are coming through. And I'll tell you what, I am here representing all the saints from all those generations who were impacted by the generosity of Dr. and Mrs. Miller. They were there for us when we needed them. Doc was there for medical attention. If you had a concussion and weren't supposed to play, you could go see Doc, and somehow you would be okay to play. There was always a kind word or a handwritten note from Mrs. Miller encouraging you and congratulating you on a season well done. And again, 8 kids, that's a lot of handwritten notes. Always there for a laugh and a smile, and always willing to open up their house to all the kids. So to the Miller kids and their spouses and their families, I want to say thank you for sharing your parents with all of us. They have impacted St. Charles High School and the St. Charles community forever. They'll never be forgotten. I know you miss them, we miss them, but I can't drive anywhere in St. Charles without thinking about how they've impacted the community. So Maggie?
Thanks, Clint. We love you like a brother. I'm Maggie Miller, one of the 8 Miller children. I just like to point out over here my table of 7 siblings and many of my mom and dad's 26 plus grands and great grands over here. So Miller family. On behalf of all of us and my mom's sister, her best friend as well, we're so proud to accept this award. We lost both our parents last year. We miss them dearly, Dr. Walter and Barbara Miller. My mom especially adored this award because of what it symbolized for her. Jodie Harrison, who we lost in 92 in our season, 91 in our season, he embodied what my mom wrote about in her 50 plus years of journals that she left for us when she passed. When she left those journals, I wanted to share some of her words today as if she was accepting the award. My mom said, "Meaning is something that you build into your life. You are the only one that can put together the unique pattern that will be your life. Let it be a life that has dignity and meaning for you. And remember that love is more important than money, than fame, than power. Be joyful and positive because nothing belongs to you. Take care and share what you have." Our parents, alongside so many people in this room, I see so much history here, and some who have passed on, were pioneers of St. Charles soccer. There's no doubt about it. They were ceaseless in their love for the game and creating this path of excellence, serving as initiators, organizers, funders, supporters, doctors of youth soccer for 30 plus years. While their work creating the foundation and growth received a lot of recognition and accolades over the years, it's really what was intangible that was probably perhaps their greatest contributions to this community of St. Charles, which they loved and lived in the same 512 Wing Lane, which is still in our family after 50 plus years. In 1982, I read in one of my mom's journals about a riveting Tri-Cities Soccer State Championship. She said, quote, "It was a ballad on grass, where a truly beautiful team worked together." This was Mindy's Lewis State Farm team. The truly beautiful team that worked together, that was my mom's philosophy. This was how she ran our family. This was her open door policy, and many of you know at 512 Wing Lane, a place where friends, athletes, neighbors could eat, laugh, share, grieve, mourn, celebrate together at our long wooden table, which is still in our family. She invited people together and she painted this landscape of friendship and faith and food. And people loved being in our home. Our dad spent 46 years of his life in service in this community as a pediatrician. He was coined Doc by 3 generations of patients, several of who visited him up to the very last days of his life. There were many times that our dad, as Clint said, would serve these injured athletes or make house calls. A foot, a knee, a stitch up, an open wound. He wasn't known for precise stitching at all, but he'd get you back in the game, that's for sure. Make it happen was this motto that he gave to all 8 of us. It was his reminder of tenacity, courage, drive, diligence, discipline. In fact, many of us wear these necklaces in my dad's handwriting, replicas of his handwriting, that say "Make it happen" as a reminder. Now, as I said, tenacity and drive was the family backdrop. Just a tiny 1-minute story. At my mom's 70th birthday party in 2008, the Miller family had this unforgettable soccer game in Surrey Hill Field. We made it up. We called it the Stars versus the Scrubs. That morning, we invited some of the old folklore players from the STC community. Clint Hull was invited this day, Judge Hull. To this day, Clint is reminded by the Stars for a defensive clearing error that cost the Stars the game.
It wasn't a mistake.
But I bring it up because our mom would laugh so frequently about this, and she loved Clint like a son, and he knows that. And she would always remind us, "Kids, my cardinal rule of forgiveness." And I still recall how she looked onward that day with this pride at her children, her grandchildren, friends from the neighborhood, with just this pride as we were children again. And, you know, Clint and our family have come together and are in the 2nd year of the Miller Hall Scholarship that goes to soccer athletes in the community. So that was just an example of how those friendships blossomed into something that would go on forever. So thank you, Clint. When we cleaned my mom's office after she passed away, tucked into her closet was the framed Daily Herald article about our baby sister Marcy. It was titled, "The Last Link to the Miller Lore is Good." We all have M names if you don't know our family. We have it settled. Marcy was the best player, being a World Cup player and all. But we also have it settled that we toughened her up and had her rise to this challenge. And we absolutely have it settled that our parents paved the way for everything. I just wanted to end with a last nugget of my mom's wisdom from her journals. Sports should be so simple. Let us work together. Let us be friends. Let us learn. Let us play. With any teams and sports comes this disappointment, problems, and failures that have to be worked out. But there also comes the victory and the joy, and most of all, friendships forever. And all these experiences prepare us for life ahead of us. And all the grit and dirt of soccer falls behind you, and so much lies ahead. And how swiftly time passes when you're trying to hold on to time. I'm a young woman in her stages of being from a young sapling to a young mother, to middle years of nourishing and flourishing, to menopause and subtle changes, to senior years of bent and broken bows, and now death. Please remember my truism that life is about risk, change, and newness. You should look to see a new scene and always find a beautiful new possibility. Thank you so much for honoring our parents. We know they're celebrating with us.
All right, next up, who is introducing Lex?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lori Drumtra, and I taught at St. Charles East for 33 years, and 27 of those years were spent coaching girls basketball. It's customary every spring for East to hold some sort of an 8th grade night, where incoming freshmen can learn about different sports programs and pick up information about summer camps, etc. It was 2006, and I had just finished my first year as head coach of the St. Charles East girls basketball team. And I was dutifully sitting at my table outside the main gym, trying to gin up interest for the basketball program. And there was a table next to me that was allotted for the soccer team, but a representative had not shown up. An 8th grader and her mom came up to my table, and they picked up some information about summer camp. And then they were kind of hanging around because I think they were waiting for somebody for the soccer program to come so they could also get more information about that. And because they were hanging around, I struck up a conversation. And it was just a brief conversation, but in that short time, it became very clear to me that I was looking forward to having this 8th grader in my program. Little did I know that that 8th grader would be my starting point guard for the next 4 years. Lexi became the player that I depended on. She was an assistant coach on the court. And she became the standard by which I judged all my future point guards. I used to have some colleagues that would come to my games. They said it was to support me, but I think it was to watch Lexi. Because her passion and her energy and her drive were almost palpable, and it was a joy to watch. She continued making her mark at the college level as a Titan at Illinois Wesleyan University, winning a national championship with that team as a sophomore. While her basketball playing days may be beyond her, Lexi continues to make her mark on pretty much everything she takes on. Because it really doesn't matter if it's a basketball court, a tennis court, a soccer field, or a courtroom. She will definitely outwork, outlast, and outthink any opponent. Her outstanding character, her strong values, and her contributions just epitomize what the Jodie Harrison Lifetime Achievement Hall of Fame are all about. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our first athletic inductee for 2022, Lexi Baltus.
I'll get back to you. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to the planning committee for all the time and effort put into making this a truly special and memorable weekend. It's been obvious to me throughout this process, but especially getting to talk to so many of you this weekend, how much you care about the program and about the Saints. And I'm just so grateful for your efforts and truly honored to be included in this distinguished group of Saints. I have loved being a Saint since the first time I put on a uniform. Louder? Yeah. Got it. But growing up, it wasn't always clear that I was going to have that opportunity. My older brother went to St. Charles. My older sister went to Wheaton Academy. So for a time, there was a question about where I would go. During that period of limbo, one of my favorite things to do when I wasn't at practice or a game was to beg my mom to drive me to gyms. Redling, East, Haynes, elementary schools, anywhere. Didn't matter, I was just looking for some unlocked doors so I could get in and get some shots up. Sometimes I would get lucky, and even then I was often only half lucky. Once I got in the gym, the lights might be off or the hoops might be up. We had to work with what we had. But one time when I was in 6th or 7th grade, and just one time, I hit the jackpot. I walked into the St. Charles East main gym in game-ready condition. The lights were on, the main baskets were down, the bleachers were set up, the scorer's table was out, the benches were there, the scoreboard was on, the works, but there was not a soul in sight. So just set aside for a second the fact that all of those were probably indicators that I wasn't supposed to be there. I've always been a sucker for the serenity of a silent gym, and something about the way the gym was set up that day just hit differently. As I stood there, standing on the fleur-de-lis, taking it all in, surrounded by the school's rich history and tradition of success literally hanging from the rafters, a history and legacy written by many of the people in this room. I remember saying, I'm going to play here someday. I'm going to be a Saint. And I'm very thankful that that came to be. I considered it such an honor to play and compete with Saints across my chest, trying to win games and live up to the legacy that I saw in the gym that day. But while that history made me want to be a Saint, and always proud to wear the orange and black, and while I really love nothing more than to compete or to win, I don't think it was the games won, with the notable exception of one or two, that made me love St. Charles East the way that I do. That made me not just proud to wear the orange and black, but to bleed orange and black and to wake up saying it's a great day to be a Saint. It made me feel the way I do about the school that makes today so special. It's a little cliche, but it was instead the people, fellow Saints, teammates and friends, teachers and staff, far too many people to even begin to thank here or name here. But there's one group who had an outsized role in shaping my experience as a Saint and in turn shaping my life, and those would be coaches. And I want to quickly thank a few of them, even some of the ones that aren't here today, like Paul Jennison and Bernie Kehoe, who took over the soccer program my senior year, and made it possible for me to love soccer as much in my last game as a Saint as I did in my first game when I was 4 years old. The joy they brought to the game, for me, was a real gift. And then there's Jerry Creek, who, though an athletic director and not my coach, always took time to share his immense knowledge about the game of basketball with me and my teammates, who ended pretty much every conversation I had with him by saying, "Go Saints," and who continued to support me long after either of us were actually at East, by showing up in the biggest moments of my college career, whether it was the national championship game or senior night, each time simultaneously shocking me and reminding me that it was the people that I was surrounded by that made St. Charles East such a special place, and that those bonds endure. And he did it again today. He stopped by today before having to go out to watch his grandson at Wesleyan. So go Titans too. A couple of my coaches are here. Sina Drawer, who introduced me to the lifelong game of tennis. I was basically just a runner holding a tennis racket when I started playing for you. I thus thank you for your unending patience and dedication. I am sure I put your coaching skills to the test. And I don't think there are kinder or better people out there than Sina Drawer. She's a true Saint, and I have always appreciated having you in my corner, so thank you. And then, of course, there's Coach Drumtra. It would be difficult to overstate what she meant to me at St. Charles East or the influence she's had on my life. In some ways, it's obvious. She took a chance on a freshman point guard, which set in motion the trajectory for not only my high school career, but my college career. In other ways, it's perhaps less obvious. In addition to being my coach, she was also my U.S. history teacher, a subject I have come to love and plays a significant role in my professional life today. I doubt that's a complete coincidence. But still even less obvious, I think it was the moments off the court and out of the classroom, talking strategy during study hall, discussing everything under the sun for the 7 or 8 years that I got to work summer camp with you, or your continued ability to both enjoy and ease my discomfort at certain forms of public speaking. At some point along the way, you turned into a lifelong friend who's kind of more like family. I'm forever grateful for everything and for everything you mean to me. I know I'm fast approaching the end of my allotted time, but I'd be remiss if I did not also quickly thank the most important people in my life, my family. A few of them are here. Thank you to my niece and nephew, Connor and Audrey, for being here to celebrate today. And a special thank you to my parents. Nothing I've accomplished at any stage of life would have been possible without your support and encouragement. I had a whole list of examples of that support and encouragement, but I wouldn't begin to scratch the surface anyway, and for time's sake, will just suffice to say that words cannot express how grateful I am. This honor is certainly as much yours as it is mine. In conclusion, thank you to my fellow inductees for being part of what made me want to be a Saint, congrats on all your accomplishments and well-deserved recognition here. It's an honor just to be associated with you and all the others in this distinguished group. Thanks to those who taught me what it meant to really be a Saint. And thanks again to the committee. I am truly, truly honored and humbled by this recognition. Go Saints.
One piece of history that I have to share is, again, I love St. Charles history. She currently clerks for the U.S. Supreme Court, and I don't think that we've ever had a St. Charles resident that does that, so that's a rock star. Next up, we want to honor 4 state championship teams, and we're going to start with Tim Daly and the 1992 Lady Saints.
Last year we initiated a tradition we thought was long overdue, and that was to honor our many state championship teams. If you're not familiar, since 1979 we've had 50 state champion teams at St. Charles East. And we thought last year we started with 7, and again this is an amazing record. 7 teams won a state championship in 1998-99. We celebrated them last year. I think that's a feat that's only been equaled once. And we decided after that we're going to honor 4 state champions every year. Number 1, because they deserve it. They certainly deserve more recognition. And number 2, on almost every one of these teams, there's at least 1 or 2, or in the case of swimming, multiple Hall of Famers. So I would like to introduce our first team, and that is the 1992 girls soccer team. Won our 2nd state championship in program history. And many of these girls on this team were also members of the first team, the 1990 girls soccer team, who won a state championship, which was, by the way, also the first girls state championship in any girls sport in St. Charles. So Maggie Miller is going to talk about them, but I would just like to make 1 or 2 comments. If they would all stand up, please. Girls, stand up. Actually, I would ask you to stay standing while Maggie makes her comments. This was perhaps my favorite team of all the years I coached at St. Charles. Maybe. This team was noted. They were incredibly talented, incredibly motivated, and as we saw last night after the football game, more fun than anything. They have stories to know, and they are just the most wonderful, and I'm sorry I keep referring to them as girls, but in my mind they always will be. The team is very near to my heart. I just love them dearly, and I can't say enough good things about them, so I'm going to let Maggie take the floor here and talk about her team.
We were calling him Mr. Daly last night, trying to get him to have a beer with us. 2 minutes. In prepping for this moment, we were asked to talk about some of our greatest accomplishments. And so I'll say, yeah, we won state. That was incredible. We lost 1 game that season. We had 3 all-state honors, and Petey and Christy Foster and Marcy. We had 2 All-Americans, and Merritt and Marcy. But the greatest thing I would say about this team was we were besties. That was what we called ourselves. Every game ended with this handheld circle, completed by this wave of somersaults that we did. And you can see this in our state champ video, a riveting video on YouTube that still exists. It's gotten a lot of views. I don't know who's watching that. But this ode to each other always came first. Guys, say it with me. Besties, besties, we are besties. Besties, besties, we are besties. And then we all somersault. We were so close-knit. We were hard-nosed. We were hard-nosed. We were unafraid, I'd say even intimidating. We grieved injury and loss together. We laughed together. We were part of each other's foundation of life. Many of us had played together for 10, 15 years at that point. Many of us won the 1990 championship together. And I think what we really did was we showed each other how strong women can really be. We were part of the groundwork for the St. Charles sport, one where players and fans and sponsors were beginning to rise together. We were friends, sisters, and we would be future aunts and mothers. And when that final score ended 4-0, we kicked some butt, by the way, when we won that game and we were crowned champs. We had a life in front of us that we knew nothing about at that point. But I thought it was fitting, as Serena Williams said as she retired, every woman's success should be an inspiration to another. And we are strongest when we cheer each other on. I think it was such an honor for us to play for STC East and to honor Jodie, because that season, after Jodie had passed away, we proudly wore JH on our sleeves through the season in orange and black to remind us of his kindness and his love and his advocacy for student athletes. We loved Jodie. So thank you so much. What an honor to be together today.
Next up, I'm going to introduce Andy Edmondson, who's going to induct his brother Mike. Andy is a Hall of Famer. There's great things about the process, and one of the things that I found so great about this was Andy's letter to the committee about the influence that Mike had on him and all the other swimmers. It still gives me goosebumps to this day, especially after I heard the battles that you guys had as kids. So, I'm going to turn it over to Andy.
Hello, everybody. All right. I have to go home. I get more of my flag. Can you guys hear me without this if I just talk loud? Yeah. Is that all right? No, you can't. All right, hold on. All right. Sit down, everyone sit. First, I would like to congratulate this year's inductees. Coach Powers, Coach Gilmore, I believe you were both teachers of mine, so thank you, congratulations. The Miller family, congrats to the whole group. It's really nice for me to be here today and enjoy, celebrate with the Millers. Everyone knows Mary's the coolest Miller. And, Miller is a classmate. She was a classmate, a dear friend, still a dear friend, so it's very nice to be here with you today. Lexi, make sure I get everybody. Lexi, Lori, Tyler, the Hardy family, congratulations and welcome to the Jodie Harrison Hall of Fame. So I'm up here today to present my brother, and I'll do my best to not get emotional and to be fast, so I'm going to try to keep jokes in there. I wrote the speech with my sister-in-law in mind because she likes to hear me talk about me, so this speech is about me, so just to be clear. And I'll take you back to October 26, 1967. All right, that's the day I was born, and it's the day I got a brother. For almost 55 years, Mike has been there for me, showing me the way, leading by example, and sometimes he showed me by what not to do, but he showed me, and I am who I am today because of Mike, and he's my big brother, he's my best friend, he's my big brother. I mean, I'll keep it going. So, part of following Mike, I followed him through soccer, followed him through baseball, I think we did a year of football, and then we found the pool. And it was at a time in St. Charles when Bob Tigert and Dave Bart and the Norris Rec Center were being built. It's a time when we met the Harveys, the Morgans, the Williams, the Gabriels. It was just an intersection that built this program. And Mike was a part of that. Mike was a huge cornerstone to that. And St. Charles Swimming in the 80s, became one of the best teams in the nation. We weren't competing for state championships, we were competing for national championships. And Mike was a large part of that. Let's see where I am with my notes. And I guess we're talking to everyone last night and celebrating, it wasn't just because we were faster, it was because of what Bob and Dave and the program built and our values and how we led our lives. And while privately and amongst ourselves we are a cocky bunch, outwardly we were confident, and we still carry that. And the swim program still carries that today. And that's who Mike is. Mike is a very confident, very quiet. His speech will probably be short, so don't mind that I'm going a little long. The Cornerstone went on to win 9 state championships, Mike teams, and Mike was a part of all of those. He knows everyone on all of them, and he is St. Charles Swimming. So this part kind of goes, I was lucky enough to be inducted in 2005. And it bothered me that at this point I was leading Mike. I thought Mike should have been in before me. So I always had a little bit of, personal, I don't know what, my feelings, right? But as I started to prepare for today and put my thoughts together, I realized Mike's been in here. Mike was in here, if I get the dates right, Mike was in here in 2002 when Bob Tiger went in. Mike was here when Dave Bart went in 2003. Mike was a huge part when I went in. Mike was a part when Stryker Reed and David Fix went in. He was a part when Aaron Gabriel went in 2019, and he was a huge part when Tom Williams went in 2020. Mike is a part of St. Charles Swimming. And I realized that he's not joining me here today. I get to join him, and we all get to join him. So, my brother.
Thank you very much. I first of all have to thank the entire program. Very proud to be a part of it. One of the things I learned is a strong team can depend on their teammates and get you out of some tough situations. Aaron Gabriel is a former inductee, and he prepared some things for me.
Everybody's seen the Key and Peele Obama anger translator skit. This was our thank you, Andy, for a great presentation. That was wonderful. And this is also a moment to recognize the growth that has happened between Mike and Andy over the years, because I distinctly remember, I think it was Mike fending off a putter attack from Andy in the living room of their beautiful home. Great. Yeah. So some tense times in there, they've grown and evolved wonderfully. In the swimming world, I spent a ton of time with Mike. That's just kind of the way it goes. So this is a high school award, but I knew Mike from the time we were 7 years old. We just spent tons of time with him. So I think I'm well positioned to have some thanks here. The thing that Mike really was great about was being open and warm and caring with all of his friends. And in that respect, he's exactly the same guy today that I met all those years ago. One thing that was really cool about being a swimmer in St. Charles is you had all these leaders around you, many different types of people, but all really high achievers. And so I know when we were growing up and we saw some of them eventually appear on the Ray Rayner show, that was a big moment, right? That made it like, we could do that someday. And I remember Mike and I talking about it, like that led the path for us, so that was wonderful. We had the structure around us, our families were awesome. Bob, Dave, the coaching staff, the school, everything was fantastic and allowed for that progress. And for all the swimmers that are here and maybe aren't in this great collection here, every time somebody wins here, we all win. So please know that you're part of this. I'm not here if Tom Williams isn't here, I know that for sure. And there's about a dozen other people that I could mention that came before me, and I think Mike feels the same way there. Being a nice guy does not get you here either, though. Mike was one of the fiercest competitors I ever saw. And especially, I just remember him had this wonderful sort of nonchalant way about being competitive, where it was, you know, we crushed them. It was wonderful. And then it was on to big belly laugh and on to the next thing. Finally, this is kind of a personal thing, but Mike was a team captain on our 1983 team. So was I, and so was Stryker Reed. So Stryker got into this collection of the Jodie Harrison Lifetime Achievement Award first. I was second, and to borrow a phrase from the great Ricky Bobby, if you ain't first, you're last. But there's an addendum to that. Sometimes last is best. Please congratulate Michael Edmondson.
Thank you. Excellent, thank you.
All right, next up, we're going to invite Sue Soderberg up to induct Lori Seidel.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sue Soderberg. I have a long-time love of St. Charles athletics, and I'm proud to play a small role in bringing this event to you guys today. A few comments before I start, similar to Clint's, but I feel worth repeating. Tim Daly's involvement in bringing the events of this weekend to fruition cannot be overstated. Thank you, Tim, for your vision, for months of planning and preparation, and for being the writer behind much of what has been written leading up to this event, including today's program. Thank you. Congratulations to all 2022 inductees and those representing 2022 inductees who are no longer with us. Please give yourself the gift of absorbing what's happening around you here today. Tears of pride, tears of remembrance. These are special moments in a special place. We're so glad you're here. Thank you, and again, congratulations. To our 4 state championship teams, it's so fun to have you with us, and we can't wait to hear what the rest of you have to share with us today. Thank you for coming, and hopefully we'll see you back in years to come. All right. It's my honor to present 2022 inductee Lori Seidel Kelly to you today, and I've had the opportunity to coach her for 4 years at St. Charles High School. While Lori was a 3-sport athlete all 4 years, she played golf, basketball, and soccer. For the sake of time, my comments will focus strictly on her soccer accomplishments. One thing that's very telling about the character of a high-level performer in a team sport is quite simply the performance of the team. The St. Charles girls soccer teams Lori was a part of went to the state finals each of her 4 years, culminating in state championships in 1994, 96, and 97, and a 3rd place state finish in 1995. I debated whether to rattle off a bunch of stats for Lori or not, but they're simply too mind-boggling not to share. So Kieran, Caleb, and Kyle, wherever you are in the room, listen up, your mom was pretty darn good. So, Lori holds both the #1 and #2 slots in the history of St. Charles girls soccer for individual goals in a season, with 43 and 40 respectively. That's 83 goals over 2 seasons, 115 for a career. She holds the #1 and #2 slots in the history of St. Charles girls soccer for individual points in a season, with 102 and 91 respectively. So for those of you who are not familiar with how points work in soccer, it's pretty similar to hockey. Okay, a player is awarded 2 points for a goal and 1 point for an assist. So in Lori's 102-point senior season, she scored 43 goals and had the assist on 16 other goals, ultimately being directly involved in 59 goals for that season. In her 91-point junior season, she was directly involved in 51 goals, having scored 40 herself and providing the assist on 11 others. Simply incredible. In terms of soccer awards while at St. Charles High School, Lori was named All-Conference in 95, 6, and 7. She was named to the Illinois High School Soccer Coaches Association All-Tournament Team at the state finals in 95, 96, and 97. Most impressively, Lori is the only player in the history of Illinois High School Soccer Coaches Association to be named State Player of the Year twice, in 1996 and 97. She was named the National Soccer Coaches Association of America All-American in 96 and 97 as well. Lori followed up her stellar high school career with an equally impressive showing for the University of Minnesota. Go Gophers. Okay. Where she was a 4-year starting forward. She was Big Ten Freshman of the Year and was again named National Soccer Coaches Association of America All-American in the fall of 97. She was named the Big Ten All-Conference Team and was a National Soccer Coaches Association of America All-Great Lakes Region player in 97, 98, and 99. Her team qualified for the NCAA postseason tournament in 97, 98, and 99, and she remains 4th all-time for points scored for the University of Minnesota women's soccer program. Never mind that Lori is the most prolific scorer in the history of St. Charles soccer, male or female. She didn't care about that. She cared about winning. She cared about her team and her teammates. She cared a great deal about carrying on the tradition that had been passed down to her from previous St. Charles girls soccer champions, several of whom are in the room today. Put Lori between the white lines on a soccer field and she was a quiet assassin. She could beat you with either foot and was one of the finest aerial players this state has ever seen. She exuded a confidence that pulled her teammates along for the ride. Having said all of this, she is also one of the most humble, grounded people I have ever known. I am proud to present to you 2022 Jodie Harrison Lifetime Achievement Award, St. Charles Hall of Famer, inductee, Lori Seidel.
Wow, I really actually thought I was going to get roasted there, but thank you. That was very generous. Thank you for the introduction. First, I want to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for having me today. As you guys are all aware, St. Charles is an incredible community with a rich history of successful sports teams made up of very talented players and coaches, and it's truly an honor to be in such great company. I genuinely have so much gratitude for my high school years, and in particular to the soccer community, or should I say the soccer family. Gratitude for the resounding impact many individuals, teammates, and coaches have had on shaping me on and off the field. I'm grateful to the soccer class of 1992 and the classes before who started the legacy. It was the class of 94 that taught me firsthand about toughness, drive, work ethic, and of course camaraderie. Girls who beat each other up day after day, but also picked each other up, and girls who celebrated one another. And in doing so, they celebrated success together, toughness and grit through and through. The teams of 1995 to 97 were the best in class teammates, individuals, and friends, and I can honestly say I would not have had the individual success without having such incredible teammates to play alongside. It's incredible memories off the field that fill my heart when I look back, to the countless hilarious conversations, jokes, antics on a daily basis, the locker rooms, the bus rides, the team dinners at practice. It's kind of fun recounting a few of them last night as well. And I appreciate the incredible friendships that were built along the way that made success even sweeter. I have to call out Steph Cox, my partner in crime for 4 years, playing both soccer and basketball together. Twins almost, I think, with our unspoken instinct of knowing where each other was on the court or on the field and how to pump each other up and build up one another with just a look. Thank you. I also want to mention my dear friend Meg Ryan, who is one of the funniest people I've ever known. Her antics always drove us to tears, and she had the most incredible drive and passion for the game that could not be replicated, and her presence is with me all the time. I also hit the lottery with coaches who had the same passion, drive, not only to win, but to bring out the best in an individual. Mr. Daly, thank you for including me on that varsity team my freshman year. I would have never guessed I would make that team, and so you saw something in me that I didn't know was quite there. It was incredible to have that firsthand experience of talented individuals in your coaching. Thank you. To Joe Moreau, who is not here today, I would like to maybe poke fun of his salad, but he always had a great laugh in his jokes, although I think it's always debatable how funny they were. Always had a great, brought a lot of fun to the game. He was a great coach that made sure that we were focused 100% on every drill, and I repeat, every single drill. And if you weren't focused, you did it again. But clearly a winning formula for him, since he has been one of the most successful coaches in the state. And to Sue, who knew how to push my buttons the most, and I say that with affection, and also putting up with just a little bit of sass I would give you here and there. She taught me more than just about the sport. You expected a lot out of me, and you pushed me hard. And what I appreciate the most is that you taught me that if I dug deeper, I could achieve building confidence for the next time of the next challenge or the next obstacle. You were also the first to give me that first pat on the back and say, job well done. So thank you for your relentless pushing of me, believing in me, and especially to be a better leader. The lessons helped me with soccer, but have affected my life. Thank you. Of course, I did more than play soccer, having played basketball and golf all 4 years as well. Incredible coaches and teammates that I want to thank. Mr. Gilmore, of course, congrats on your induction, so well deserved. Great coaching, taught me a great pivot move that still works in the driveway against my boys today. Of course, Mr. Payne, who passed away earlier this year, remember his infectious smile and laughter that he brought to the teams. He had incredible ability to balance the fun, especially with his wit and sarcasm and his toughness and his drive. And of course to my family, thank you to my parents and my sister for the support and dedication to my sports. A lot of time, money, and energy was spent supporting my love for sports. To my older sister, Beth, sorry you've had to have so many people ask if you were Lori Seidel's sister over the years. I'm sure that got old. I would just say right now the roles are reversed, and I'm very proud to be your sister. Special thanks to my parents, countless hours in the car, which I can really appreciate now driving my 3 boys all around town every day. Thank you for your constant encouragement, constant positivity, and path for me to develop my talents, taking me to more practices, allowing me to play guest players, as many teams as I could. And it was my dad who actually encouraged me to play golf, as that would be the sport that I was playing when I was older. Why not get some free lessons with Mr. Osborne? So I can appreciate that. I shot a 45 on 9 2 weeks ago. I thought that was pretty good. Good suggestion, Dad. But the one thing I've never forgotten about my parents is their encouragement. Getting dropped off at a game, it was a simple and positive, play hard and have fun. Coming home from a game, it was a great game. I love to watch you play. It was only after I would bring up constructive feedback of my own game would my dad reluctantly chime in and give him his opinion. So thank you. By not saying much, you just encouraged me to have fun and play the game. Thanks to other friends and family who cheered me on, high school and college. Funny story about my grandfather. He ran a bar in Wisconsin, and he required patrons to read the latest news clipping about me before he would serve them a drink. So, I'm not sure if that meant I had a lot of fans in Wisconsin or if more under, I'm not sure. But to my husband Joe of 19 years, ironically, we met in Mr. Power's geometry class freshman year. We connected when Joe would steal my homework and put it up on the board. So thank you for not noticing that. Joe has been my constant cheerleader, my #1 fan, always championing me and believing in me. The amount of miles that his parents allowed him to put on his car in high school and college, driving to all of the games, even throughout college, driving to all the other Big Ten locations, was just... Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you. We built a beautiful life together, and you're a great example for our 3 boys. So in closing, one of the things the soccer coaches have always done is have quotes motivational quote. So this is the one. This is the one that always meant a lot to me. I thought I'd share it with everybody. Boys, listen up. Valor grows by daring, fear by holding back. Dare and you might, hold back and you never will. Dare to be great. Thanks, everyone.
Coach Prentice, you're up. So as Coach Prentice makes his way up, I just want a couple things. One is the St. Charles Booster Club is our #1 sponsor here. But for the St. Charles Booster Club, we wouldn't be here. And the other thing that we talked about is the booster parents, they have homecoming tonight, so the booster parents can never be here. But they're always so interested in the remarks that the athletes and the coaches make about the time that that it was what it meant to be a Saint. I want to thank Jerry Denson here. She's over on the right side. She's a certified court reporter. I work with her in court. She is taking down and transcribing everything so that we can give it to the booster parents so they can hear what Saints history means to the coaches and players. So Jerry, thank you very much.
My name is Rob Prentice. I coached the 1991 golf team, boys golf team. I coached golf in town for 34 years, 17 at St. Charles, now East, and then I moved across the board. Congrats to all the inductees.
If you're always asking, where next? Capital One.
Sorry. It's okay.
Very sorry.
Mike Edmondson, I've got to tell a Mike Edmondson story, okay, if you'll indulge me real quick. Fall 1982, I'm new to town, trying to get into education, signed up to be a substitute teacher. And those of you educators in the office, in the room, know that substitute teaching is about as low as you can go in the education. I'm at St. Charles High School one day, and I thought I was going to my lunch period, and somebody grabbed me in the hall. We need somebody to take a study hall on the 2nd floor. You got to do it. I don't have a roster. I don't have anything. They said, just have the kids sign in. So you guys might not know that Mike has an alias. I mean, I'm sure Andy probably called him lots of names over the years, but I passed out the sheet of paper and got it back, and I'm looking at it, Billy Jones, Susie Smith, and ladies and gentlemen, on that afternoon on the 2nd floor, St. Charles High School in October, I want to say, of 1982, Mr. Mojo Risen. It's good to see you again, Mojo. The 91 boys team, we were a team full of returning players, good golfers, great kids. It's my honor to have been associated with them. Tim's going to talk about the team in just a second, but I know a lot of you play golf, and you know how frustrating it can be that you can have it one day and not the next. These guys answer the bell every single competition that we played. We were 13-0 in dual meets against some of the best teams in the state. We ran the table in all the invitationals that we played around the state of Illinois. We won 10 invitationals that year against some of the best competition around. Won the conference tournament, regional, sectional, got to the state tournament in Danville, Illinois, Danville Country Club, and we won by 20 shots over the 2 days. And that's all great, as all of you probably feel about your teams. The best part is the kind of people they are, and I have a very warm spot in my heart for the 91 team. I'm going to introduce one of our tribe captains. Would you guys stand up? By the way, I'm going to have you guys stand up. had such fun last night getting reappointed and telling stories. And I'm sure Tim will tell you even more. Tim Carlson is one of our tribe captains from that season. He is a 2009 Hall of Fame inductee, and he was the 1991 individual state champion that year as well. So Tim Carlson, come on up and talk about our guys.
Thanks, Coach. It's hard to go after Maggie, and then I have to go after her twice. But since we started at Lincoln Elementary together, we've known each other a long time. So it's great to be here with you and your family, and certainly well-deserved for your mom and dad to get this honor today. I first want to thank the committee, as everyone else has. It's a lot of work to put this together, and this is a great group of people that we have here today. I'd also like to congratulate the other award recipients for today. It's a great honor. It meant a lot to me when I won this award several years ago, and it's a lot of hard work and a lot of special people, certainly that I've heard so far through the speeches and knowing several of them. When I won this award, I thought, I was very honored, and I think somebody said this earlier that, it's kind of why me? Well, we can talk about the reasons why me, but it was really, when you think about the team, and golf isn't, you don't think about golf as necessarily being a team sport. It's very individual, you play your own ball, you play your own game. But that being said, some of my best memories of golf are the good round I played at Pebble Beach or whatever the case may be. It's the days and the hours and the time that I spent with the team. And the team in golf is you play 6 players and you count 4. So you can have the best player anywhere, and as long as, if you don't have the other 3 players to come around or the other 5 players to play well enough, you're not going to win. And Coach mentioned this, and I went back and looked at it and thought about it. I mean, the record is clearly very good, and 13-0 in dual meets and 10-0 in tournaments. But if you take all the teams that we played in those tournaments and the dual meets, we were 192-0, which is amazing consistency. And we all know too that in golf, you can have it one day and the next day it may not be there. But to do that for 8-9 weeks in a row, it means a lot. And that's why I'm honored to be here to give the speech for the team, because these guys deserve this honor given the team we put together. Probably the best golf team ever in the state of Illinois. It'd be hard to beat the record, I suppose. I'm sure there were other great players, but it's an unbelievable accomplishment. So why did all this happen? I mean, I think we've heard before, there's a long line of success through a lot of sports in St. Charles and of the Saints, and certainly the golf team had done very well. We won a state title several years before. But we went into our senior year with having finished 3rd 3 years in a row in state. And I would say that there was a strong desire to change that and do a little better in the next year. I'm not sure we fully thought we'd end up where we were, but it was a lot of hard work. And between myself, Steve Federin, Clint Van Leningham, the tri-captains, and all the others that played with us, Ross Nelson, Scott Cryer, Joel Hornbossel, Jared Kowalczyk, my brother, the others that can't be here today, everyone was focused in on a goal. We all pushed ourselves, we competed, we played hard. We had a coach who doesn't like to lose. For those that know Coach Prentice, he hates to lose and was always very nervous. Yet at the same time, and maybe it's because of Feds and his the way he is. We had a lot of fun. Perhaps not as much fun as the soccer team had, but we didn't have as many players. But we had a tremendous amount of fun. We also had a lot of support. People have talked about parents and the other people around the program, the golf professionals that allowed us to play, that helped us, that pushed us along. A good friend who donated equipment to us, which was very beneficial to the whole program. So it takes a lot of people, but it takes a lot of effort from this sort of team to come up with that result. There are a lot of stories we could tell about the moon glow and the $9.50 large stakes we all got that night before the state tournament. Maybe that helped us, I'm not exactly sure. Ross was running the pool table that night against some interesting people down in Danville. But, you know, at the end of the day, we finished what we were trying to accomplish all year. When we drove back, it was a long drive from Danville. We're all in the van together. And Coach Stoker was there, who was a big part of our team as well. And I think it all came to us, this is the last time we're all going to play together as a team. And that was really hard, but they're all my brothers. And when I got inducted 10 years ago or so, they all came to my induction, and finally they've gotten the award that they deserve for being on the best golf team ever in the state of Illinois.
I neglected to mention somebody that's very dear to our team. Our assistant coach, Ron Schober, was a math teacher at St. Charles High School. He was involved coaching golf and tennis. We were looking forward to being with him today. Unfortunately, Ron passed away August 2nd this summer. And we were all thinking of him last night and had a toast in his honor. Ron Schober was a big part of our success as well, so thank you.
Introduce Coach Buck Drott. We have two coaches. Again, when you hear about all these different coaches that come through and the impact they had, amazing stuff. We induct two coaches every year, and Buck is going to induct number one.
First of all, I congratulate all the inductees for this year. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce you this afternoon, Mike Powers, on his induction into the Jodie Harrison Lifetime Achievement Hall of Fame. Mike, who is very much like Jodie, has demonstrated lifetime qualities and accomplishments consistent with the values, character, and commitment not only to St. Charles High School athletics, but to young athletes around the state of Illinois and the entire country. Mike started his career at Oakland High School. That's in Illinois, not California. And he had won 15 varsity letters in football, basketball, baseball, track, and golf. I don't know how you do that, but he did it. And in his spare time, he was a salutatorian of his high school graduating class. He attended Millikan University. He graduated with a double major in mathematics and physical education. He was a 6-time varsity athlete in track and field and basketball there at Millikan. He went on and got his master's degree at Illinois and specialized in computer programming. Mike started his teaching and coaching career at Pecatonica High School, a small town up north. He taught math, he coached football, basketball, and track. He moved to Morris, Illinois, where he again coached football, basketball, and track. He arrived at St. Charles in the fall of '84, taught math and computer science, and again he coached football, basketball, and track. Mike finished his teaching and coaching career at Westover High School in 2014, where he taught math and he coached football. Mike served 7 years in the sophomore level at St. Charles High School. He was the offensive, defensive line coach, special teams coach, and he was the head coach there for 4 years. In 1991, the head football coach at St. Charles finally wised up and moved Mike to the varsity level. Mike coached the offensive line and was a special teams coordinator along with various duties that had anything to do with filming, computers, or electronics. During Mike's 22 years at St. Charles, he coached for 3 different head football coaches at the varsity level. The varsity level record when Mike was with the varsity was 113 wins and 46 losses. It included 12 state playoff appearances, 10 in a row, and 4 quarterfinal finishes. Mike has also coached in all-star football games, as well as being a clinic speaker at the state and national level of both football and track and field. Mike's claim to fame is him being the founder of the Battle of the Big Butts Lineman Challenge that he started in St. Charles and he continued in West Aurora. It's a type of summer competition for big linemen and includes various skills, and including his favorite, the watermelon eating contest. Sports Illustrated did a tremendous article on Mike and the Battle of the Big Butts here a few years ago that he is very proud of. We're all proud of him for that. Mike is currently spending his time officiating track and field and cross-country meets around the country at both the collegiate level as well as high school and youth levels. It wouldn't surprise me to see Mike in the next Summer Olympics. Mike has always had a special relationship with the kids he taught and coached, especially the offensive linemen. Mike coached the toughest position in football to coach at any level, whether it be Pee Wee or the NFL. You see, the day Mike chose to coach the line was the day you choose to put your hand in the dirt and play offensive line, was the day he chose to live in the shadows. You choose to be first to be blamed and the very last to be acknowledged. You give up the stars and the limelight for the humility and the wins. He and his boys brought lunch pails and a blue-collar attitude to work every day they clocked in. They were the determining factor in every game. Without them, quarterbacks couldn't throw passes, receivers couldn't catch footballs, and running backs couldn't rush for yardage. Without the offensive line, there is no scoring and there is no winning. The heart and soul of any good football team is the offensive line. They're the least known yet the most important unit of the team. There's no position that requires more discipline and technique than an offensive lineman. The success of the offensive team hinges solely on the ability of the offensive line to control the line of scrimmage. I'd like to share a quick story with you that explains Mike Powers and what he means to the school and to athletes everywhere. There's a big difference you need to understand between contribution and commitment. One day the farm animals got together and decided to treat the farmer to a well-deserved breakfast. The cow spoke first and said, "I'll contribute the milk." The hen spoke next and said, "I'll contribute the eggs." And all the animals were very impressed, and finally the hog spoke. Now, as a side note, we call offensive linemen hogs. And the hog said, "I'll make the commitment and I'll provide the bacon." Here's a guy that not only contributes, but is fully committed, Mike Powers.
Thank you, Buck. I learned a few things that went on. Thank you, Buck. Thanks again. It was awesome. First, I'd like to congratulate all the Hall of Fame inductees and the state championship teams that are here today. Again, congratulations. I've always thought, St. Charles High School, now St. Charles East, is and has been a very special place for all of us. Special thanks to the Hall of Fame committee. I really can't believe that this is happening to me today. I'm honored and I'm humbled. Again, thank you. Thank you so much. To my family, my son Ian and his wife Ashley, just raise your hand. My stepson Alex Brannick is in the back there. And my son Duncan and his wife Lucy could make it here today. And then my wife Terry. I spent a lot of time away from the family, as we all do as coaches. The games, the practices, the meetings. And even when I was at home watching film, there's times I'm grading the offensive lineman at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, put the kids to bed and get on the film, on the phone, and it all comes to territory. My family is very understanding and very supportive. This makes it all worth it. To my mom and dad, they both love coming to the football games here at St. Charles High School. They always comment on how big the school was, and it's always felt like coming to a college football game. They just love the atmosphere and the game, and of course the band. I wish they were here today. My My dad passed away in 2000. Mom was in assisted living in Charleston. To my mentors, there are many. Wayne DeMar, sitting right over here. Jim Parker, Rick Butcher, Mark Vitale, Gail Gross, Mark Gould, Ron Johnson, Tom Roderick, and Ted Munkin. I always say in my track and field world, somebody's always watching. And I was watching, and I was listening, and I was learning. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then there's Buck Drock. We all know Buck. You believed in me when you brought me up in 1991 from the sophomore team, the varsity team as the O-line coach and special teams coordinator. He helped me make me into the coach and the man that I am today. Thank you, Buck. Thank you much. Now, Buck kind of stole my thunder there, but I was a young pup when I came to St. Charles High School back in '84 from Morris High School. Okay, I spent 3 years at Pecatonic and 4 years at Morris, and then the St. Charles gig opened up here. I was a freshman football coach, sophomore basketball coach, and head girls track coach. My first year here in '84, I was thinking I was a basketball guy. Played basketball in college and high school. I'm this skinny little guy in high school, trying to play quarterback. My heart was really with basketball. So in '84, I became a sophomore football coach, a freshman basketball coach, and coached track along the way. Everything changed, like Buck said, in '91 when he moved me up to the varsity football team, and things really changed. Buck named 3 coordinators that year. Rick Butcher was the offense coordinator. Mark Gill was defense coordinator, and I was the offensive line coach and special teams coordinator. And Buck was the coordinator of the coordinators. Buck turned us loose, and the Saints were on a roll, and like we always say, Buck always said, Buck always blamed us for success. It's all Buck's fault. I really enjoyed the big boys up front, okay? The hogs up front. And the term pancake was invented. I was learning something every day, and I loved it. I enjoyed the day-to-day and the week-to-week challenges, and what a future it was. I found my place in the coaching world, and I didn't look back. What a pleasure it was to work with all these great athletes, and of course with Buck and Mark and Rick. We had it going in the '90s. We had some awesome athletes over the years that made the coaches look good. Too many to mention today. Another special thank you to the parents and families of these great athletes and administration boosters for all your support over the years. And then there's Val the Big Bus that Buck mentioned. You can't forget about that. We started that back in the '90s. It's a lineman challenge for all defensive linemen. Buck mentioned the watermelon contest. And it's still going strong at West Aurora High School. And it did get mentioned in Sports Illustrated. In 2006, Buck came out of retirement, got the head football job at West High, and he asked me to go with him. I said, wow. I told him I'd go if I got a teach job. Everything worked out, it all happened. So I joined Buck at West Aurora as the O-line coach, special teams coordinator. I did retire from coaching back in 2016 after 40 years of coaching high school football. And then there's this track thing that I do. I did coach the pole vault for Coach Roderick on and off for a few years. And then a couple of pole vaulters advanced the state meet and vault in college. I started with the IHSA back in 85 as a track official. And I started working all the track meets here at St. Charles as a starter. And not knowing where that would take off where I am today. At St. Charles High School, at our indoor track meets, I'll tell you a little story. Okay, Coach Roderick would be speaking to the team after the meet, and have all the assistants coach also speak to the team. And I was off and on an assistant coach. And as I'm walking out the door with my equipment, Coach Rod would ask me if I had anything to add. I couldn't think of anything to say, so I just said, the first time I said, Coach, you said it all. And the team would cheer, they'd yell, all that stuff. And that became a very tradition after every home track meet there at St. Charles. I really enjoy telling that story. Well, nowadays I travel the country, work at track meets with IHSA, NCAA, and UCT. I've been very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. I've taken a leadership role within the Illinois Track and Cross Country Officials Association called ITCCOA. I'm past president of ITCCOA, where I'm also in their Hall of Fame. You can find me in the pole vault pit, the IHSA Boys and Girls State Track meets every year. I had the privilege of working 3 national meets this past year with the USATF and the NCAA, 2 in New York City, 1 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Looking forward to the USATF Youth Junior Olympics in Eugene, Oregon next year. I'm also filling my time. I'm all retired now as an assigner for track and field officials and starters at all levels, college, IHSA, and even middle school. Just trying to stay busy. And the track and roll is helping me out with that. It does keep me busy. I do a clinic for new IHSA track officials every year right here at St. Charles East High School. I do want to thank the administration of St. Charles East for allowing us to host this clinic over the years. We are looking for new track officials, so if you're interested, please come see me. I've been very fortunate to be around some great coaches, some athletes over these years. St. Charles is a very special place. I'm grateful and honored to accept this award. Thank you. Once a saint, always a saint. Thank you.
Tim, you gonna come on up?
I would like to take this opportunity, very brief opportunity, to acknowledge an incredible group of people here. You've seen athletes, inductees, coaches, we have family members here, teams here, et cetera, but there are also a number of people here who have been inducted into the Hall of Fame over the years. You've heard from a few of them. I would like to acknowledge everyone else. So if all members, current members of the Hall of Fame, could you please stand up? Stay standing, and I would like to read off your names, but I know I'm going to miss a couple people. Please stand back up. You deserve it. We have, please, and tell me who I'm forgetting. Shout it out, throw something, whatever. Clint Hull, Sue Soderberg, Sina Dror, Doc Nielsen, Mick Rudiger, Buck Drock, Rick Butcher, Rob Prentice, Bob Teichert, Melissa Kane, Linda Kane, Carrie Batka, Merritt Scott, Maggie Miller, Marcy Miller, Andy Edmondson, Tom Williams, Tim Carlson, Aaron Gabriel, Dave Pitchick, Rod Osborne, Wayne DeMar, Merle Denker, Dave Fix, Jevin Herman. Now, who did I forget? Striker. Yes. Oh, Mary, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
John Doerr. Anybody else? Gary Cole. I knew it. Anyone else? Thank you so much, all of you.
I'm going to ask Bob Teichert to come on up and talk about the 1982 boys swimming team. Where's Bob?
I want to thank the committee for putting all this together. There's a phrase that I learned a long time ago, that leadership fills a vacuum. And Tim really did that. It's not just the teams being honored, it's the camaraderie that was created as all the teams got together for these different events. So thank you to them, and congratulations to all the award winners. In 1979, we won our first state championship. And 3 years ago, we had a reunion of those athletes. And I got to thank them for making me look good. And I get to say the same thing tonight about our 1982 team. They got me to look good and launched me into a career where I now work with business owners to help them attract, develop talent, and build teams. From 1975 to 1982, 13 families moved to St. Charles to be part of our program. And you wonder, how does that happen? Well, there's three things that go into it. First of all, we had a great facility. Thanks to the Norris family for making that happen. Secondly, athletes are attracted to coaches that they believe can help them achieve their goals. I was very fortunate to be the coach at Hinsdale High School for 4 years. During 3 of those years, Jodie Harrison was also at Hinsdale High School. Jodie is not only honored here, but at Hinsdale, he's honored every year by the foundation at Hinsdale, giving a grant to teachers for continuing education. The youth basketball program in Hinsdale has his name connected to it, and every year that youth basketball program gives out a superhero award in his honor. So Jodie made a difference in a lot of different places. And for you folks to put this together in his honor really means something. Now, how did we attract other people? The idea here is also vision. An interesting story when I hired Dave Bart and interviewed him, he said, "Bob, what do you want to do?" And I said, "We're going to be state champs." He went home and said to his wife, "Ruth, I think you're going to think I'm crazy." And she said, "How come?" He said, "I already have an offer to be a head coach at one of the high schools here in the Chicago area, but I want to be part of Bob's team to build state championships." I think we fulfilled that vision. Now, we have athletes here this evening that are All-Americans, honored in the Hall of Fame, but I'd like to introduce their moms, who gave birth when they were very, very young. So Mary O'Brien, if you would stand up, Striker Reed's mom. Beth Gabriel's, Aaron Gabriel's mom. And Sally Edmondson, Mike Edmondson's mom. Mike was very kind last night when we got together. He said, "Bob, I don't think I would have accomplished what I've done without you." And I said, "No, you wouldn't be here today without your mom." Now, one of our swimmers is going to talk about the '82 team. Tom Williams, who's been inducted in the Hall of Fame here, state champion, high school All-American, but you might not know what he did after high school swimming, but Tom has been a world record holder in swimming in 3 different events, and now owns a very successful health club in Santa Monica, California. So Tom will be speaking about the '82 team.
Hello. All right, one more time, hi. I came all the way from California. Please make me feel welcome. We, on the '82 team, are the luckiest people in the world. You know why? Because we came into '82 with a, earmuffs, kids, earmuffs? An FU attitude. We were ready to go because in '79 they won. Bob brought in all this talent and all these incredible athletes. And I can name them because they were important to me. Speak up. They were important to me. I can name them, thank you guys, because they were important to me. They were important athletes in my upbringing. But what they did is they led the way. They made us responsible for the next generation of swimmers that came around. So 79 won and 80 and 81, and then 81 did not. And that was my junior year. So we came in, the 1982 team came in, determined that we were going to make a difference. We were going to bring it back to where it was before. We got second, but as all the athletes back there, and you always want to say, hey, all the 82 athletes stand up, guess what? They're already all standing up. Every one of them. Haven't sat down yet. But you ask yourself why we wanted to be great again. And it was because we were led by guys like Bill Shannon, Mike Morgan, Mike Harvey. And they went to incredible universities like SMU or Indiana University or LSU or Iowa or anyone in Nebraska. All these places we all wanted to follow. We all wanted to be better. Someone once said to me that you could take a kid who was swimming in Elgin and put him in an orange and black suit and he'd already be better, just because he thought he was. And that was the truth in our swim program. We were the luckiest athletes on the planet. Because with the Norses, I feel like Bob stole half of my speech, but with the Norses' great philanthropy, and then the bringing of all the great coaches, came the coming of great athletes. But many of us were homegrown. Many of us were born here and raised here. But if you think that somehow because of the water or the meats or the meals or whatever, we became great athletes, that wasn't the fact. The fact is that there was a culture that was brought here. There was a culture that was brought here to develop great swimmers and great people and entrepreneurs in later life. People who went on to do great things. I want to sit here and I want to thank my parents, of course I do, and I want all of us to give a great round of applause, especially you guys standing in the back, to your parents. Ready? 1, 2, 3. None of us would be here without that. But at the end of the day, it was a culture that Bob Tigert developed, and Dave Bart developed, and then Glenn Henry and Mike Morgan and Bill Shannon and Mike Harvey and the rest of them brought down and taught us. And then our parents bought into from day one and taught us that if you follow this path, a path well developed by these guys, that you will be successful. And guess what? We were. Thanks for having us.
All right, next up, we're going to bring Lori Jumpshire back up. And while we're talking about cultures, I just want to put everybody on notice here. St. Charles East Wrestling, watch out. These guys are, when you talk about a culture, you talk about people coming into town, watch out. You're going to see a state championship soon. So, I'm going to bring up Lori, and we're going to induct our next thing here.
When I started teaching in 1983, and at what was back then St. Charles High School, I could not wait to coach basketball. I got my chance in 1984 when I was lucky to join Gary Gilmore's staff. I worked with Gary for 13 seasons between 1984 and 2003 when he retired from St. Charles East. I couldn't have asked for a better mentor. In Gary's bio in the program, it mentions his demeanor on the sidelines, his preparation, his work ethic. Gary was not a screamer on the sidelines, or in practice, or at any time. He was intense, and he got his point across. But he always treated everyone, whether it was an assistant coach, a referee, and definitely his players, with respect. His preparation and his work ethic were the same, whether it was a Saturday morning practice or a regional championship game, whether it was year 1 or year 23. For a young coach like myself, these were important traits to see and later to emulate when I got the chance to lead the Saints girls basketball program. Gary spent 23 years as the head girls basketball coach, 23 years. That in and of itself is amazing. He began when the IHSA girls basketball was still in its infancy. And through the hard work and dedication mentioned previously, He built a formidable program that was widely respected in the upstate 8 and in the western suburbs. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our second coaching inductee for 2022, Gary Gilmore.
Okay, I don't know how I'm going to top that. I'm sitting here looking at these people over here, and I'm thinking I am in the wrong group. Oh, these guys are elite people, and the rest of these people here too. I do have to correct Lori on one thing. I wasn't the girls' varsity basketball coach for 23 years. It was 16 years that I was the varsity girls' basketball coach. I did coach in St. Charles for 26 years. I was at the junior high level. I coached freshman boys basketball and football and junior high football and things like that. So I got my time in there. Moved over to the high school when it was built, St. Charles East. I was still coaching the freshman boys, and at one point, the girls' varsity basketball coach came up to me and she said, "I'm going to quit. I'm going to be done. I'm going to retire. I think you should get involved in this." And okay, I'd never even seen a girls' basketball game before that, so I made a point of going to see one at the junior high level. It scared me. I'm sitting in the stands and some girl would be dribbling the ball up the floor and another girl would jump out in front of her to play defense and the first one would stop and scream. I was going, wait, I don't know if I can handle this part. I'm not too sure. But I did it. I said, okay, I'll give it a try and we'll see what's going to happen here. From what these people have talked about back and forth, a lot of the things that they have said, I have to say the same thing. I can talk about many, many, many different things. I have a classmate sitting back here that is a member of this group of people, Hall of Fame people. There are 2 other math teachers up here. I think there are more math teachers in this group than there are any other group in this group. That's because we count. I appreciate the Miller family over here. You guys, 22 I think it was the number I was adding up to, something like that. That's what you go in your family. When we get together in my family, I'm also a little ahead of everybody else over here too. When we get together in my family, I think there's about 45 of us that sit down to Christmas dinner. This is my brothers and sisters and our children and our nieces. There is nobody else involved in the family. 45 at least of that member. Something that's not mentioned too far along the line here is the fact that I am a saint. I graduated from St. Charles High School 61 years ago. This week, last year we celebrated our 60th anniversary. I had several people show up for it. This year, it was this weekend, a year ago this weekend, I think, that we did this, so we got involved with this. So I can tell you a lot of things about a lot of people that went through this program, and the fact that these people are sitting here and those people are standing up back there. You guys are really lucky. We didn't have a swimming pool when I was in high school. Other things that when I was a freshman, Haynes was built, okay, but we practiced at Richmond grade school. We would trudge from the high school, Thompson, over to Richmond, and we would practice basketball over there. We passed a cornfield on the way over there. Seriously. There was a cornfield over there. There's so many things. I'm looking at these people and their notes and everything that they have here, and they have them all typed out nice and neat and everything. I got 4 little cards here, and they have nothing on them. That's worthwhile saying. I don't know why they were even here. I don't know. I got chosen in 1980 to be the new girls basketball coach. I started a girls summer program. I had about 10 young ladies or 12 young ladies that said they wanted to be involved in this. So my first year in the summer program, we had 10 or 12 girls. That was it. When I finished in the end, 16 years later, we had about 75 to 90 students in it that were involved in the summer program. it grew nicely. And people like Lori took it over and kept it going. I can't say the things. I love to go watch basketball games. So many different things that went on in my life. You call this a job. Okay, this is not a job. Not when I go back and look at it. I was a coach in St. Charles for 26 years at different levels. I coached in a different school district before that for 5 years, and it was never a job. The people, the kids, they were young. They made me feel young. I loved it. It was great. I could tell you so many incidents, but I could tell you stories about Sue over here. Yeah, I could tell you stories about that. Stories about Lori over here and Stephanie back there. Okay, I loved doing what I was doing. It was fun. It was never work. You talk about, oh man, it's Saturday morning. We got to go practice. It was great. I loved it. It was fantastic. The one thing I had against it was it kind of took away at Christmas time. It kind of took away from time with my family and their families. But they were there. They came. They enjoyed. They helped out. When I was in high school, the girls didn't get to play basketball like they played out. Some of you, I'm looking at you, there can't be anybody else out here like this. They played 6-on-6 basketball when I was in high school. The girls, it was intramural. They didn't go from school to school. They played within their own little leagues in school. 3 girls played at one end of the floor on defense. 3 girls played at the other end of the floor on offense. I think there was 1 girl that got to travel back and forth. That was it. There was 1 girl that got to run back and forth from one end of the floor to the other end of the floor. That's what they called basketball in the good old days, okay? I guess people didn't think that girls were supposed to be ladies, whatever. They weren't supposed to run hard and jump and throw balls and hit balls and kick balls and things like that. It wasn't the right thing to do, I guess, for ladies. They shouldn't have done that, okay? Somewhere along the line, somebody started thinking, well, maybe we should let them try. So 50 years ago, somebody invented Title IX. And that's when all of this stuff started happening, and you get to see females here today instead of males, okay? I started about 7 years into the Title IX program. The first couple of years that I coached, if you had 1 good basketball player, 2 good basketball players, you had a good team. People looked out for you. When I retired 16 years later, you needed to have a whole entire team. You needed to have 5, 6, or 7 basketball players to be a good basketball team. Title IX helped do all of that as we went along the way. There's so many things I can think about. Basketball, when I talk about the football and basketball and stuff like that, basketball is what I was into the most. And if I'm babbling on here, I'm just going to do that for a couple minutes more here. I went to St. Charles. I played basketball at St. Charles. I started as a freshman, and then I got short, and I didn't play anymore as a freshman. I did stay on the team for 4 years. I got to do that. It was the highlight of my school year. I loved it. I enjoyed it. I also got to play on the track. I also got to run track with Paul Ferguson, who was my first athletic director. He was also my he was also my government teacher when I was in high school. I got to do all of these kind of things with these people. I loved it. It was great. When I was a sophomore, okay, some of you probably heard this story. I'm sure. Batavia. How many of you have heard of the basketball game between Batavia and St. Charles? A couple of you. I see a couple of hands going up. Okay. When I was in high school, we belonged to Little 7. West Chicago was in Little 7, Geneva, Batavia, St. Charles, and a couple of teams were Little 7. We had giant monsters at that time. West Chicago had a pair of brothers. One was 6'11", his brother was 7'1". Batavia had a 6'10" ball player. Geneva had a 7-foot basketball player. Our largest basketball player was Jack Brenz. He was like 6'8", I think, or something like that. Jack went to, I believe his name was on this list too, but he played for us, and he went to University of Wisconsin and did great things up there. But this is the kind of programs that were being run at that particular time. We had played Batavia a couple of weeks before, and they had destroyed us, beat us by about 20 points. They came down to St. Charles. Coach says they're not going to beat us by 20 points. They only beat us by 3. The final score was 3-0. Varsity boys basketball game, 3-0. That was it. One kid from Batavia was the high scorer. He scored all 3 points. I can actually tell you his name. I don't know why I remember that. His name was Am Halter. They got the initial tip, came in on the floor, scored a basket, 2-0. We got the ball. We passed the ball around, but they sat back in a little tight defense and didn't do anything else about it. They just sat there. We took a shot at the end of the first quarter, missed it. Took a shot at the end of the second quarter, missed it. Took a shot at the end of the third quarter, missed it. Took a shot. Well, we got down to about 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, and we went to the basket, took a shot, missed it. They got a rebound, brought it back down to the other end of the floor. Kid got fouled, made 1 free throw, game was over. He was a high score, 3 points. I got to coach boys and girls. This is it, I'm running out here. I got to coach boys and girls. The boys, you throw basketball out there, and they said, okay, let's do it. You know, they go do what they're going to do. The first time I practiced with my girls, one of the girls says, how do you want me to do that? I looked, what? She says, yeah, how should I move my feet on this thing? What do you want me to do with this thing? Whoa! Nobody ever asked me to do something like that before in the boys' class. The boys, they just didn't listen to you at all. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a freshman. I was at a freshman basketball game up in Elgin. We're ahead a little bit with a couple minute to play. We got a timeout. This is it, guys. We are not going to shoot anything except layups. Just layups. That's it, layups. Right-handed, left-handed, no long shots. Forget it. Okay, got it. Okay. We threw the ball in. Kid took 1 dribble, turned around, and shot an 18-footer. Just like that. Just, like that. So that's how they listen. I don't know. It was it. It was fun. He made it. What am I going to say? The longest layup I ever saw in my life. Okay? I love the girls. One of the finest things that I ever had was as one of the timeouts, the girl says, Mr. Gilmore, Coach, relax. We got this. I really like coaching the ladies and the boys in basketball and being a set.
All right, next up, I'm going to introduce Buck Drock, who's going to induct Tyler Evans.
I want to apologize to everybody here. This is the only color folder I had at home. Very proud to introduce you Tyler Evans, this year's recipients of the Jodie Harrison Lifetime Achievement Award. Tyler has certainly demonstrated the qualities and accomplishments consistent with Jodie's values, character, and commitment to St. Charles High School athletics. This has certainly become a day and age of specialization. It seems that more and more kids are specializing at a younger age. Well, Tyler was ahead of his time by 25 some years. Tyler specialized in being a student athlete here at St. Charles High School. Let me explain. As a specialized student, Tyler was an academic high honor student all 4 years at St. Charles High School. Tyler was a member of the student council for all 4 years. He was a member of peer leadership and a member of the multicultural club. He was a Florida Ladies semifinalist his senior year and was also the recipient of the St. Charles Sports Booster Club Scholarship. Tyler was also named to the Illinois High School Football Coaches Association All-State, All-Academic Team his senior year. As a specialized athlete, Tyler was a 3-sport athlete his entire 4 years at St. Charles. He was a 4-year varsity letterman in track and field, was all-conference 2 years in both discus and high hurdles. He played basketball all 4 years and was the varsity letterman for 2 years. He was the basketball's team's MVP his senior year, as well as the team's leading scorer that year. Tyler played football for 4 years and was a varsity letterman for 3 years. He was a two-time all-conference first-team player and most valuable offensive player in the conference his senior year. He was the team's most valuable offensive player two straight years. He was selected to the Sun-Times All-State team and was named the Daily Herald's Athlete of the Year. Tyler was selected to the Illinois High School Football Coaches Association All-State team and was selected to play in both the North-South Suburban All-Star Game and the East-West Shrine All-Star Football Game. Tyler's specializing in athletics, led to 9 varsity letters. The one thing I'll remember the most about Tyler is a story that Sina Dror shared in support of his nomination. She told a story that on Tyler's graduation day, and on a football field no less, with all the excitement and his future in front of him, Tyler had asked Sina to look after his younger sister Ann, who would be starting out as a freshman at St. Charles that coming fall. Dale and Carolyn, you got quite a kid there. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tyler Evans.
Wow, thank you very much, and I just got to say that for the last hour and a half, I've just been in absolute awe. Everybody that sits up here, everybody that's out here, everything that's been put together for this, it's been just absolutely amazing, and to say that I'm honored to be part of it would be a major understatement. So thank you very much. Definitely want to give shout out to the committee for all your hard work. Everything that happened last night, the parade, it was just such a magical night. To be there, Friday Night Lights, you know, there's nothing like it. So that was truly amazing. I also want to thank Coach Drock, you know, specifically for all of his efforts to get me nominated. I really appreciate that. I also, you know, as many of you know, he belongs to this Hall of Fame, but also to the Illinois High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame. So to have learned and developed under Coach Strock was a huge, huge advantage for me, as it was for many others. So I thank you for your guidance, your influence, both on the field and off the field, and just what a great influence you've been in my life. So thank you very much. I also want to say a special congratulations to all the nominees. Like I said, I'm in awe. When you were listing all your accolades last night on the football field, I'm like, am I in the right place? Should I be here right now? So congratulations to all of you guys. I do want to tell just a little story about myself and Lori. I don't know if you remember, but if you guys all remember, you know, senior year they do that kind of most likely to be like a movie star or all that. And actually, Lori and I were voted most athletic, right? And I'm realizing that that should have been her award solely, not my award. So thank you for letting me pose in that photo with you. I really appreciate that. So one of the special things about receiving this award is it's allowed me to step back and actually reflect on my life and all the things that I've been fortunate to have and to do. I was blessed with 2 extremely supportive parents who worked hard to provide a wonderful life for their 3 kids, and who, by the way, celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary earlier this year, so we want to applause, please. My father, who some of you might know, Dale Evans, he's also a member of the Illinois High School Coaches Hall of Fame. He was always committed to his school and his team, but he was even more committed to his family. He found time to coach as many of our Little League teams as he could, sometimes coming directly from his own practices to our practices. He was certainly a huge support throughout my athletic career. He provided me constant advice, pushing me always to be the best that I could be, but he was always my dad first and a coach second. Certainly, our family does not work without my mother, Caroline Evans. She was the matriarch. She was the one who had the hardest but yet most important job. She kept a calendar. She took us to practices. She helped us with schoolwork, last-minute science projects. And she went to every one of our games, of course, most of the time watching with her eyes covered as such. But she was the rock, or is the rock, I'm sorry, that keeps our family going, and is our #1 fan. And she, even though she didn't mind telling us when we could do a little better. So I want to say, Mom and Dad, I love you and thank you very much. I was fortunate that my parents chose St. Charles to raise their family. It was a bit smaller community back in my day, surrounded by cornfields. But as a child, I spent summers leaving my house at 8 a.m. on my bike and not coming home until dinner time. I swam at the South Elgin Quarry. I traded baseball cards. I built forts. I always felt safe. And I made some lifelong friends who actually, if you came into town and surprised me for this weekend. So I love you guys, and thanks for keeping me up way too late last night. But growing up, I participated in many youth sports whose fathers and mothers took time out of their busy schedules to volunteer and be my coaches. All my experiences to grade school and junior high were all positive ones because of this community and because of the support of my teachers and my coaches. And I want to give a special shout out to the 1993 Thompson Junior High football team and our big win versus Haynes. Big one. That was a big one. This support continued in high school, where I was fortunate enough to be a Saint. And I belonged to a school that had a rich history of top academics and sports programs. For the 3 sports that I played, I was fortunate to be coached by Hall of Fame coaches such as Buck Drock, Ron Johnson, Tom Roderick, Coach Butcher, and now sitting here next to Coach Powers. So I wanted to say to every coach that I've had, I want to thank you. You guys have been such a huge support, influence, and all that, everything you did and backed me. I really do appreciate it. So thank you very much, coaches. Most of the sports I played were team sports. So I don't even come close to being eligible for this award without having the benefit of playing with some unbelievable, incredible athletes, some of that are actually in the Hall of Fame as well before me. As a quarterback, which is the position I played in football, I'm nothing if my offensive line or my big butts don't block for me, or if my running back's not a threat, or if my receivers aren't catching my balls. I'm absolutely nothing. On the basketball court and track, if I scored a good amount of points or if I won my event, but our team doesn't win, it meant nothing to me. I always felt that I needed to play as hard as I could and my absolute best for my teammates because I knew they were doing the same for me. I never wanted to let any of them down. So being part of some great teams during my years in St. Charles is basically what I'm proudest of. So I want to thank all of my 1997 teammates, across every sport that I played with, as well as all the underclassmen that I had the honor of playing with. So I want to thank you for all the wins and the losses and the incredible memories. Once this Hall of Fame class was announced, I had the benefit of having several people take time to reach out to me and send me some really incredible notes of congratulations. So it was great to hear from so many of you. Some made comments that they remembered me more for how I carried myself and how I treated others, and less about my athletic accomplishments. Receiving those comments has meant the world to me. It was how I was raised by my mom and dad, and how I try to raise my kids today. Be kind and help others. It's the best advice I can give. I haven't always been the perfect person, but I'm very proud that people remember me as somebody who supported them and was a positive impact on their life. So in looking back, I realized that I'm one very fortunate and lucky individual who has had support and backing by thousands. I now have 2 beautiful daughters who are both smart and confident and make life fun every day, Claire and Grace Evans. I'm married to an incredible wife, Allison Evans, who, by the way, who herself was a top athlete back in high school and still holds many records in Champaign, Illinois. I do want to shout out that her and I just celebrated our 16th wedding anniversary yesterday. And I know really her true wish was to celebrate me and my Hall of Fame induction on our anniversary, so you're very welcome for giving you that gift, Elsie. But I love you very much. Family continues to be everything for me. Two of my very best friends today are my older brother Ryan Evans and my little sister Ann Evans, who were both phenomenal students and athletes for St. Charles as well. They impress me every day with what they've accomplished in life, but more importantly, who they are as people and who they are as parents. I'm fortunate that our entire family remains close, and it's truly a joy for me to watch my kids and their kids grow up and make their own memories. So I found a quote, right? You always gotta leave everybody with a quote, but I thought it was super fitting for my perspective and a reflection on what the Hall of Fame and everything has meant to me. And it reads as such: wisdom is looking back at your life and realizing that every single event, person, place, and idea was part of the perfected experience you needed to build your dream. Not one was a mistake. So today I feel very wise. I'm forever grateful to anyone and everyone who ever took time to help me and support me throughout my life. And I'm so grateful that I was a saint and now to be part of this Hall of Fame. So once again, I want to thank you, committee. I want to thank you, Coach Strock. I want to thank my family, and I want to congratulate all the inductees on such a special day. Thank you very much.
Hey, Jenny. I'd like to call up Jenny Cole. As Jenny approaches here, we're witnessing a Hall of Fame, the end of a Hall of Fame career with Jenny. She just, I think, celebrated her 702nd career win as the coach of the Saints. Coach Cole, here you go.
Thank you. And it's only because of the teams and the athletes that I've had that I am able to do that. But there's a couple people that have made that possible for me. 4 years before this state championship happened, I applied for the job. I came in from Kansas. My husband's the band director, and I needed something to do. So I applied for the job as the head volleyball coach. I was a JV coach, and I went into my mentor's office, and I said to Wayne, "Hey, listen, you give me this job, and in 5 years, I'll get you a state championship." Well, we did it in 4, didn't we, my friend? We did it in 4. I have a lot of great mentors. Mr. Drock sitting over there, he always had smart ass words to say to me every day. And my sister, who we would go in together and argue and cry, Wayne always made us cry, is Carrie Badcutt, who is a state champion drill team, or dance team, sorry, it's dance team now. So I'm honored that she's here too. And by the way, you soccer players, I would have recruited you. You wouldn't have even played soccer. You would have played volleyball. And I know that Lori Drumtra hid her from me when they came in because I would have grabbed her right away. So just know that that's part of it. You know, Rudiger about recruiting. Anyway, all right. I want to, again, Tim Daly, I know it's been a million times, and I know this committee, but you guys have no idea. I mean, this was, he's done an amazing job. And so I, once again, sorry, Tim, we got to give you a big, I'm at the end here, a big shout out to Tim for this great job that he's done. I'm going to brag because we are St. Charles East's first state championship team. We split, and the kids that were on this team it was the first state championship for St. Charles East High School. We suffered through the mold crisis. We went from East High School and played at Redling Middle School. And that was our home gym for this state championship team. We suffered through 9/11. That was the year of 9/11, and we had to miss some games, but that was okay because it was all about our country, and we got to grow together through that. We were, back in the day, it was 15 points that you played to, no rally scoring. That was the last state championship team that had 15-0 was one of our games. We also had we played 3 games. So you didn't have to serve. You had to serve to score a point, not just when the other team loses. And I have just a quick story, and then I'm going to introduce one of my kids, Amanda Rorson. Raise your hand. Kim Holm, raise your hand. Blair Stilling. Those are 3 of my kids, and then I have a wonderful lady that I want to stand up back there, Barb Smith. Her daughter was a setter on the team, along with Amanda, and she was in Hawaii first, and then she went to Australia to find what was causing coral reef disease, and we lost her when she was over there in Australia 12 years ago. So she's not with us, but boy, she's with us. She'll always be with us because she's a champion. So Barb, thanks for coming and representing Ashley. All right, here's a quick story, and then I'm going to give it over to Amanda, and she doesn't have very much to say. She's kind of a quiet, reserved child. I don't know how she played for me. Did I say Amanda? I meant Blair. I'm going to talk about Amanda real quick. Amanda was recruited by all the schools in the country, and I'm not kidding. I'm talking Stanford, Hawaii. They even offered her boyfriend a scholarship to go to Oral Roberts if she would come there and play. She was just that good. And our last year, this tells you what a great team this was. And Blair and Kim, I mean, they were a family. You guys were all talking about how to be a family and how you have to win. It has to be a family. This was a family. And Amanda was a huge Christian. She followed her faith and her now husband, but boyfriend at the time, and she played at Judson. But her faith was so strong to her. So we were in the super sectional game, and the first score was 15-7. Stay with me. The second score was 18-6. We lost. Amanda was white in the middle of the match. The official had called her over. She turned around, she turned white, and I thought, what in the world? I called a timeout. She went over and talked to my assistant coach, Mark Wallen. She did something with her hair, and then she went back out. The official called her back over again, and she looked like she was crying. We lost that game, the second game. After that game, all the kids came in, and our captains looked at each other. I said, what is wrong? What in the world is happening right now? And they didn't tell me. They just said, we've talked to Amanda, we're all good, and they winked at each other, and they won the match, the next game, 15-0. Let me tell you what happened. Amanda had a hairpin in her hair, and she thought that she was going to be kicked out of the game if she kept that hairpin in. So she was dishonest with the official, came out at the timeout, took the hairpin out of her hair. The official called her over and said, I saw what you did. But I'm not going to say anything to you. The next state championship that we went and played against, that same official brought me a clip of hairpins to remind me of that fearful day. Anyway, let me introduce to you Blair Stilling, who is going to speak about the team. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Blair Stilling, as Coach Cole said. The other players in attendance, Kim and Amanda, were both just absolutely vital to our 2001 state championship team. Our team motto was, do not follow where the path may lead, go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. And that's exactly what we set out to do. The season started off with a bang, 7-0 start. We were on a roll, we had the confidence. Then we lost to St. Francis. And I think that was a real eye-opener for us. There was a little bit of arrogance in our team, and that was kind of the healthy dose of reality that we needed. Bring us back down to earth and really focus our goal on winning the state championship. Led by co-captains, Danny Neinheis, Kristen Halt, and myself, we continued in a dominating fashion, winning most of our matches in just 2 games. We made quick work of our opponents in the regional and sectional matches, with no opposing team scoring more than 6 points in any of the games. When we made it downstate, the school offered buses to allow students to come and cheer on the Fighting Saints. And when we came back from state with our trophy in hand, we received a police escort and even got keys to the city. The season ended with an incredible record of 41-2. Of the 13 players on the varsity roster that year, 9 were seniors and 7 of them went on to play at the collegiate level. The memories made that season will never be forgotten, and the unique chemistry of the team allowed us to do great things. As Coach Cole mentioned, wherever she went, I don't know, our team remembers Ashley Smith, who passed away in 2010, but was part of the chemistry that made the girls so special. Ashley always brought a calming presence and a sweet smile to practice, and we are forever grateful to have known her. Lastly, we want to extend a huge congrats to Coach Cole on her big 700th win. She became a pillar of the St. Charles High School academic and athletic community, and she's devoted her career to helping shape her student athletes to become true team players by forming bonds that last a lifetime. I know I can speak for the players from our team when I say we wouldn't be the people we are today without the influence of Coach Cole. Thank you.
All right, well, we are down to our last athlete, and just want to again thank everybody that's been here today. It's such a great day. I'm calling up Pat Woods, but I want to talk a little bit about Justin Hardy, who's our final inductee. For those of you that don't know, Justin was inducted into the Hall of Fame in a ceremony this February during St. Charles East basketball game. Justin passed away in May. The Jodie Harrison bylaws stated that an athlete couldn't be considered for induction into the Hall of Fame until 10 years had passed since their graduation. Under these bylaws, Justin would not have been eligible for consideration until 2028. The bylaws were amended to allow committee members to consider him, and Justin was unanimously voted into the Hall of Fame. Now I want to take a second to comment on this. I had the honor of getting to know Justin, and I talked to him at one point in time about the Hall of Fame. And Justin commented, I don't want this to be something that's just a feel-good gesture. Because as I got to know Justin, what I learned is that he didn't ever want anything given to him. He wanted to earn everything. And I told Justin, and I've talked to many committee members, that this was not a goodwill gesture. Justin was voted into the Hall of Fame because he earned it. He earned it because he was an exceptional athlete at St. Charles East and at Wash U. He earned it because he lived his life consistent with the values, the character, and the dedication of Jodie Harrison. He earned it because he and his ever-evolving legacy will forever be a part of our Saints community. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Coach Woods.
Boy, I got a lot to say, and after sitting here for a while, hearing all the speeches, I think my speech has changed like 10 times. So first I just want to tell Gary here that, side announcement, we do have the shot clock that's starting in Illinois, and Ron Johnson tournament's going to be the first to use it, so there will be no more 3-0 scores. Buck, I got some orange folders for you if you need it as well. Okay? Basically, the theme that I heard today is just a legacy, both individual legacies, team legacies, great stories. And unfortunately, as you know, Justin is not here to carry on his legacy. But as a coach, I was lucky to be a part of that legacy. And I'm going to enlist your help from here on out to help us carry on the legacy of Justin Hardy. I'm a little shaken up, as you can see, but it's still very raw for me what has happened. So I'm going to try to tell a story that's going to make me laugh, and some of you might have heard it at the Celebration of Life, but one of my favorite quotes is Jimmy V's, you know, every day you have to laugh, every day you have to think, and every day you should have your emotions move you to tears. Well, I'm at the tears part right now, so I'm going to go to the laugh part right away because I've been thinking for like 2.5 hours back there, and one night, late in Justin's treatment, he shared the story with me that we were texting. It was like 1 or 2 in the morning and he couldn't sleep. And he was telling me that he's stopping his treatment. And like, of course, I'm trying to convince him, like, no, don't give up. You know, the whole Jimmy V thing. And he kind of said that was cliche. But he's like, Coach, don't worry about it. He goes, I'm going to be fine. I'm not quitting. I'm just not doing any treatment. And it was very, like, awakening to me. And he followed it up with, you know, actually, I should say, I followed it up with, like, I'm thinking, I'm crying, but I can't get myself to laugh, because he and I use that quote a lot. So he texted me, well, I'm going to tell you a funny story. He's like, my brother's home this weekend, and he's pledging a frat. It's Hell Week, and he looks like death. My parents should be far more worried about him than me. And that is a true story. I have it on my phone. I'll save that text forever, but so bear with me here. I am honored to be here to speak to you. I'm still the coach at St. Charles East. I've been here for 13 years, and one thing I've learned in my 13 years is that, you know, the legacies are just amazing. The winning, the success, you know, the foundation of family. Just, there's so many things I can go on and on, but I'm also honored to be here on behalf of the Hardys and to share this message from them with you. First of all, the Hardy family would like to congratulate the 2022 inductees. Thank the Hall of Fame committee members for honoring Justin with his official induction into the Jodie Harrison Hall of Fame. They would also like to express their deep gratitude for Judge Hall here and the Hall of Fame committee members for allowing Justin to be presented with the Jodie Harrison Lifetime Achievement Award in person on February 8th at the Hoops for Hope game, preceding his death on May 29th, 2022. It's hard to believe that 3 months have passed since Justin left his legacy, much of which was created here in St. Charles. His teammates, his coaches, and his trainers all played an integral role and should share in this award as well. While Justin's list of achievements, both on and off the court, are impressive, we believe his greatest achievements were his joy, his spirit, his determination, and his perseverance. In a few moments, we'll be showing the ESPN Sports Center segment, which features Justin's astounding achievement to play college basketball while undergoing chemotherapy treatment for stage 4 stomach cancer. Please watch this with this quote in mind, which embodies how Justin lived his life. As humans, we have the power and ability to shape our reality however we would like. The mindset and intention we bring into each day are what allows us to do the unimaginable. Through mindfulness and focus, there is no limit to what we can accomplish.
every basketball game I've ever played, right? I'm not sure I've ever stepped on the court where I thought I was going to lose. This was a game I was getting into that I didn't think I could win. But I think my definition of win was a little skewed. The first scar I got was from the perforated ulcer I had back in April.
You cannot be average today, and you should be bloody. You should be scraped up, okay? You should have holes in your jersey like Hardy does. Puts holes in every jersey that he has. You should just lay it on the line.
The second thing I got was this Metaport here. What is my story? Where do you even begin with that?
In 2018, Justin Hardy arrived at Washington University in St. Louis, a perennial Division III basketball power.
This is the 215-pound machine. And when I watch video of our team from 2 years ago, he just stands out.
He was the Rookie of the Year. He played like one of the best players in the country, and he was for sure going to be an All-American, no doubt about it in my mind.
But during Hardy's sophomore year in 2020, Washington's season was cut short by COVID. Then his junior season was canceled altogether. Last April, in the best shape of his life, he awoke to a searing pain in his stomach. Doctors discovered a perforated ulcer, performed surgery, and then discovered something else.
They felt very strong that they had observed signs of cancer. I was sure they were wrong. It just couldn't, I just figured they made a mistake and pathology would show that it was something different.
Doctor came in and she goes, I got the pathology results back. You do in fact have cancer. I'm sorry, this is probably the worst day of your life. There is no cure for stage 4 stomach cancer right now. And I'm being put into this game that I've, in theory, zero chance of winning. Yeah, give me 1 second.
The initial prognosis that he received was likelihood of 12 to 18 months after diagnosis for survivorship.
Beginning last June, Hardy underwent a grueling protocol of radiation and chemo treatments to battle the stage 4 cancer. In only a few months, those treatments had reduced the once 215-pound basketball machine to as little as 165 pounds.
He looked like a shell of himself. He couldn't move. He was weak. His voice was weak, and it just wasn't the same Justin.
We're our best version of ourselves when he's with us. Our hope is that he could just be here physically for his senior year. I didn't think there was a basketball future for him.
Hardy had other ideas. By October of last year, he was practicing with the team. By November, he was in the starting lineup.
Run away for Hardy, it's up and good, Justin Hardy.
By December, he was dunking.
Hardy down the lane strong, jams it home from the free throw line.
And only a few weeks ago, he tied a career high of 28 points.
And it's made! Justin Hardy! What can't Justin Hardy do? Might take a while to figure that one out.
He played like the best player in the country. Yeah, I just smile because I'm like, I know what I'm witnessing right now is something that's probably never happened and probably won't ever happen again.
There was no piece of me that was going to half-ass this. If I was going to do this, I was going to do this.
Emory's playing some good defense here in the first half. Hardy, though, finds some room from distance, and he splashes one home.
With his family watching from the stands, the 22-year-old Hardy struggled to get through a recent game. His condition worsens each day, a byproduct of an unrelenting cancer that recently spread to the lining of his colon.
It's pills every day. It's treatment usually every other week, where he can't really feel his feet or his hands. He has other things that pop up that he won't even tell you about because that's just Justin, but it is every day for him, every single day.
I I can't control the spread of the cancer inside of me, and you know that portion, you know, is gonna do what it does, and it might be further away than I think it is, but it's definitely closer than I want it to be. This is beating it. This is me living my life regardless of the circumstances. If this isn't beating it, I don't know what is.
Meet for 3 small spaces. The most convenient.
Brief commercial break. All right, whether it was his buzzer-beating game winners against St. Charles North, sorry, Rob, redefining what it is to live with terminal cancer, Justin achieved the unimaginable. He wrote his story from the opening cover to the very last page. He lived his life regardless of the circumstances. He defied the odd. Let's all strive to be Hardy strong. Once a saint, always a saint, forever a saint. Justin Hardy, Hardy strong. Direct all the applause to his amazing parents and family in the back.
Well, everybody, it's going to bring us to the end, and a couple things that I want to just finish with. One is, as you can tell, just in this room, the love that we have for being saints. But I will tell you that one of the proudest moments, one of the most inspirational moments that I've been a part of in my 55 years was when Justin's family wanted to have the celebration of his life at the St. Charles East Gymnasium. And I've been in that gym since I was 5 years old, and I will never forget walking in and seeing everything that I saw, all the people that came together, what St. Charles East meant to Justin, what St. Charles East meant to his family. And you know, Bob and Karen, again, I can't wait to feel and see the evolving legacy of Justin Hardy. It's just the beginning. So I want to thank everybody for attending today. For those new inductees, I hope that you realize that you're part of the family, and I hope that each year you come back and that we can continue to celebrate. I want to close with the tradition that we've established at East. I know that a lot of you don't have a drink in front of you, but we often hear the phrase at East, once a saint, always a saint. So what I'd like to do to end tonight is I'm going to ask you to raise a hand, and I'm going to say once a saint, and I'd like the room to respond with always a saint. So if you could raise your glass or your hand. To next year, once a saint, always a saint. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful night.